The modern antinomianism that I've described in a conservative form and a liberal form, it really is modern, and not just modern, but 20th century. There wasn't such a big dispute over, preaching sanctification, third use of the law, this is how you live, in other centuries of Lutheranism. If you look at Luther's sermons, if you look at C.F.W. Walther's sermons, if you look at, any Lutheran sermons before the middle of the 20th century, it's not controversial. What changed in the middle of the 20th century was that, academic Lutheranism in the old world in Germany was being infected with liberalism, and at the same time with existentialism. And as the theologians in Germany and the philosophers in Germany were losing the confidence that they could actually insist on certain histories and certain essential things as being absolutely true, and because this thing is true in history or in the absolute reality, you can take this to the bank, you can act this way. They were losing their confidence that these things could actually be defended or believed by modern man. So Rudolf Bultmann, his thesis is that modern man can't believe these things anymore. And so you got to come up with a new way to say it. And so existentialism became that new way, which is basically, okay, let's not worry about the essence. Let's not worry about whether it really happened that way or whether there's some sort of ultimate form that says this is absolutely right and that's absolutely wrong. What matters is that you live as if it were. What matters is that you don't worry about things, the essence of how things are behind the scenes. What matters is how you exist. This plane of reality right here. And so when God tells you, you are my child, I forgive you, you believe it. And that's an existential encounter. You believe it. And whether Jesus really was God, whether he really died on the cross for you or not, so as to be some sort of complicated scholastic framework for believing that, you don't have to go to that extent. Just believe and live accordingly. Let that hope animate your life and transform your thoughts. And that'll be a sufficient form of Christianity for modern man who supposedly can't believe this stuff anymore. And so, that was obviously already liberal antinomianism and, liberalism full blown. But it also seeped into less liberal, brands of Christianity, and in particular Lutheranism, because of so much of this happening in Germany. And, the Missouri Synod still being German speaking or close to its German speaking days, and sending its bright young men over there to get a good European doctorate. And so, existentialism really was the issue. And the kind of preaching that sort of, the only thing that's important in this sermon, not the main thing, but the only thing that's important in this sermon is for there to be an existential confrontation between God and man, where man says, I am at a loss, I need you for everything, and God says, well, that's good, you're my child, and I give you everything, and man goes away justified. Like that's all that's necessary, and you don't have to explain the text. The text might or might not have happened that way. Actually, you don't have to explain the text, the most important thing becomes the only thing. And, in a conservative denomination like the Missouri Synod, this doesn't fly for long, but it does make waves. And so you get versions, conservative versions of antinomianism that aren't willing to go all the way, but still do like this emphasis of existentialism on that moment where God speaks directly to you and you simply believe. And again, this works particularly well with Lutheranism because that is important in Lutheran doctrine. Like that's important in Orthodox Lutheranism, that moment. If next time you read through the Small Catechism, you might pay attention to how existentially it's phrased and emphasized. This is what it means to me. I believe that God has made me and all creatures. he has given me my body and soul, my eyes, ears, and all my members, etc. It's always talking about what does this mean to me. And when he's explaining the second article of the Apostles' Creed, which talks about the hypostatic union, God becoming man, he doesn't try to explain the hypostatic union or go into details on that. He deals with it in clauses, in dependent clauses in the first sentence. I believe that Jesus Christ, true God, begotten of his Father from all eternity, and also true man, born of the Virgin Mary, is my Lord, who has redeemed me, a lost and condemned person. And he goes on, and the whole rest of it is, what does this mean to me for my salvation? And so, Luther's not an existentialist in the philosophical sense. He's totally an essentialist in the philosophical sense. But because his understanding of the gospel does have that very personal, individualized encounter with God and faith in his promises element to it, that was what in the 20th century was seen as sort of like, that's the point of Lutheranism, Orthodox Lutheranism. We can seize on and try to expand with existentialist philosophy. And I think really that's where most of the conservative antinomianism comes from too. Gerhard Forde, he sounds like a conservative Lutheran for the most part, but he does not believe in the authority of Scripture in a traditional way. And he's actually, if you follow him in all ways, you're going to end up like the ELCA, not like the Missouri Synod.